Hey Archery Talk, this is Lucas, and tonight I've got my second kind of multi-bow video for you, and this one is all about draw cycle. Now, unlike the speed test video that I just published a little while ago, this one is 100% subjective. These are how I feel about each draw. Your mileage is definitely going to vary here, so I do encourage you to go out and shoot as many of these bows as you can before you choose to buy. But these are just my 2 cents after spending as much time as possible with all 8 of my test bows this year. So I have shot each bow tonight, I don't know how many times. Quite frankly, I'm pretty tired at this point. So I'm gonna go and shoot all these for you on camera. If you see me struggling, just know it's because I've shot 8 bows 25 times each and I am running on fumes. But for now, let's go get to it, Archery Talk, and we'll see which ones I like. I'm gonna go from my favorite to my least favorite, although to be fair, none of these are what I would call uncomfortable bows to shoot whatsoever. Let's get to work. First place for me was a very tough choice. I was kind of torn between 2 bows here, but I'm going to give the slightest of edges to the Prime RVX 34. The Prime was my favorite drawing bow last year, and it has not changed this year. Again, the bow is very similar to the RevX model from last year. The RVX is, follows a lot of those same principles as that bow was, quiet in the hand, smooth drawing, and it achieved all of those things exceptionally well. This is the last bow that arrived, and I shot it, just the other day before I started doing these videos, and it stood out to me immediately. Now, I hadn't shot all the other bows with it. Well, I did all that today, but this bow still comes out on top with just a buttery smooth draw cycle. It's also a super easy bow to let down. Again, these ratings you'll see are largely inverse to the actual speed test ratings, which is to be expected because, again, you can't hide speed in a draw cycle. But you draw back this bow, there's no hump. It is, again, you would swear this bow is 64, 65 pounds, something like that, and it is dead easy to let down. It is, again, a peach of a bow to draw. Draw cycle for me is more important than pretty much anything else outside of accuracy, and this bow achieves that in absolute spades, and it's quiet. Again, Prime hit this one out of the park as far as I'm concerned when it comes to draw cycle. Second place for me, which very well could have finished first on a different day, is the Hoyt Alpha X 33. I have loved this bow since the day it arrived. I have probably shot this bow more than any of the other hunting bows this year. Again, I love the color. I love how it feels. It is probably the most dead in the hand Hoyt I've ever shot. It really ticks a lot of boxes, and the draw cycle, again, it's such a nice smooth draw. You could let it down with relative ease. There's not like a big rolling over the cams to make that a difficult process for you. And again, the draw cycle is so smooth. It's the kind of bow you can shoot all day long. And again, as I mentioned, just wildly dead in the hand. Great job for Hoyt. After the top 2, there really is a glut of another 3 or 4 bows that really could be any position for me, but I'm going to ultimately give that 3rd place spot to the Elite Ethos. Elite has a history of making really nice drawing bows. Over the last couple of years, they made some faster bows, which the Ethos is, and so I would say it's maybe not as easy of a bow to draw as some others from prior years before they started adding a little more feet per second on there, but it is still a real treat to shoot, and a super smooth cam, which is, I like that a lot. It builds a little bit towards the end, but really smooth. And this is, again, it's a little faster than the other 2 bows I tested, but it might actually be the easiest one to let down just because of how the cam is set up. In the speed test, I had this one set up in its most aggressive setting on the draw stops. This one I've got now more towards the middle, which I like a lot more. Again, at that 70% mark for let off, I couldn't handle this bow, but right now at 80 to 85, it is perfect for me. Another bow you can shoot all day long, super smooth. Again, late build up right here, but that's really about it. And it's a great feeling bow. And it's what you'd expect from Elite. So there are a couple of caveats about number 4, the Bowtech Core SR. In performance mode, I will say flat out, this bow would have finished 8th out of 8 bows. It's the most aggressive, it's the fastest, and it feels like it. Again, I think I like it more than the prior Bowtech speed bows I've tested, but it's still a fast, speedy bow, and you can feel that in the draw. But in comfort mode, this could have finished 3rd easily. It is, again, and that was still fast bow in comfort mode. And for me, that's about a perfect draw on a hunting bow. I like the length of this bow. I like the feel of it at full draw. I feel like I'm upright as I want to be. And the bow shoots. It's a, Bowtech for me in comfort mode is probably where I would keep this bow, especially at my draw length at 30 inches. I don't really need a super aggressive bow. If I can get 330 feet per second in the comfort mode, or even that's over 290 feet per second with a heavier arrow, that is absolutely perfect for me. And I think Bowtech's, the technology that allows you to make it aggressive or comfortable or faster or a little slower or set it up however you want to is what really sets those guys apart. So we're halfway through this list right now, and honestly, there's not a whole lot separating 3 through 8. It's kind of difficult for me to find huge differences in the draw cycle. They're all pretty good. None of them really feel like speed bows except for that Bowtech when it's in performance mode. So it's kind of, you're splitting hairs here. But with all that in mind, I'm gonna give the 5th place nod to the Mathews Lift 29.5. I have a long-term love affair with the smoothness of the Mathews cams over the last 5-6 years. I just think they offer great draw cycles overall. The Lift bumped up their rated speed, and I do find it to be, a little bit stiffer than it was in years past. However, it still has that Mathews smoothness that you want. Maybe with just a slightest little dip in the valley, but I hate to even call it that. Letdown, not too taxing, all things considered. Again, this bow has an IBO speed of 348. Certainly doesn't feel like it. It didn't test like that on the chrono either, to be fair, but it feels a whole lot better than that on the draw. And as you'd expect from Mathews, just utterly quiet after the shot and dead in the hand. So as I really don't want to put any of these in last place, I'm really going to call the rest of this a draw for 6, 7, and 8. And I want to bring special attention to that bare Whitetail Maxx. This bow finished 2nd in our speed test, and it is a really nice drawing bow overall. In considering it's less than half the price of anything else we're testing this year, it's an absolute home run for Bear, in my opinion. I have had a Bear or two in for testing over the prior years, their flagship level bows even, and for me, this blows them away. The Bear Whitetail Maxx is, for my money, at least in the bows I've tested, the best value in archery. And someone's gonna have to work hard to prove me wrong to get me to change my mind, because I just love how this bow feels. The draw, again, builds right here is where you can start to feel the rollover of the cam. It's not obnoxious or anything like that, but you can definitely feel a little bit. Letdown's not bad if you're prepared for it. But once those cams roll back over, you do have to kind of stay tight, as they like to say when you're laying this bow down. But overall, for considering the price, the speed of this bow, and the feel of this draw cycle, you really can't go wrong. Up next, I want to talk about the APA Black Mamba 33. This is the first APA bow I've had in I think around 5 years. And I did not get along super well with the first one that they sent me, again, 5 years ago. This one, completely different story. I love the draw, it shoots good speed, and it's got a great brace height, 7-inch brace height on this thing, I believe. It's the best brace of any bow I've tested this year. And so if you're like me and you live where it's cold, you need bulky clothes in those kind of late fall hunts, a bow like this could come in really handy. And the draw is really smooth. I mean, I'm talking about this bow 7th overall, but you could absolutely have talked about it in 3rd or 4th overall. As I mentioned, these bows are all really close, especially once you get past those first 2 I mentioned at the top of the video. Bear's done a nice job with this bow. It draws nice, it's plenty accurate, and it's plenty fast. What more can you ask for? Last but not least is the Xpedition XLite 29. Again, I'm talking about this 8th, but this is not the last place bow. Again, this could have finished anywhere in the list, kind of below number 2, at a different time or a different day. I've been quite impressed with this bow. It is my favorite looking bow of the year. It's maybe a little more compact than I would personally shoot, but Xpedition makes this same bow in several other longer axle-to-axle lengths, so you can really pick and choose what works best for you. For me, with my draw length, 29 is maybe a little snugger than I would prefer, but that's hardly the fault of the bow, considering there are other options from the same brand with the same technology available. And the draw itself is overall pretty smooth with a bit of a build up here. I wouldn't even call it a roll because you don't feel it a crazy amount of like of dump or let off into a valley. It kind of just rolls and builds up until it gets to the end. And letting it down, probably not my favorite of the bows to let down, but really it's not exactly massively different than any of the other prior bows I've mentioned when it comes to that. Again, the bow looks spectacular. It shoots plenty fast. And once I had the tuning issue figured out, which I talked about in the preview video, this thing shoots lights out and perfect bullet holes for me. Archery talk, I think that's about all I've got for you now. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel an awful lot. And we'll see you again soon with the review videos and the 8-bow shootout.